guys. All right, we are going to do the guided drawing. So this is lesson 3 for this week. Of course, you can also come to the guided drawing that we will do with Zoom as well. So that's going to be Wednesday at 10. And this lesson is on Wednesday, so it works. And I didn't mess it up this week. Yes. Okay, so our guided drawing today is going to be from the story, The Robin's Nest. And so hopefully you've heard the story already. If you haven't, please make sure that you watch the video of the story and that you've completed lesson 1 and lesson 2, but lesson 2 is the one that goes along with this one, okay? So this is going to be either on the back of your page that you did yesterday for lesson 2 or beside your page. For me, it just happens to work out that it's beside, it's not on the back of. So we are going to do a guided drawing, and it is going to be of our robins and the place where the nest ends up. So if you remember in our story, Mrs. Robin is the one that wanted to put the nest on the second row of the fence because she thought it would be close enough to the ground that a bird wouldn't hurt itself if it fell out, a baby bird, and that it would be shielded from rain underneath the first, the top piece of wood on the fence. So we're going to actually do a guided drawing of that. Okay, so I am going to use blue as the, actually I'm not, because the sky is going to be blue. Let's use, the ground's going to be green, brown. Why don't we do, I'm going to use black for my border just because I think that it's the best option with the colors that we're going to be using in our drawing, okay? So we'll go ahead with a black border. Right, then you're using, of course, your block crayon, and we're going to use the side that we always do when we do our borders. All right, now that I have my border on, the very first thing we are going to do is put in our tree that's going to be over here, because we're going to make sure that our fence is a little shaded by a tree. So I am going to use my brown block crayon to do that. I'm going to use a combination of this side and this side to do that, just because it's the easiest. And then once we've got our tree and some branches in there, we'll use green to put some leaves on it, because remember, this is the spring, so it's going to be pretty. I'm not going to set my tree all the way down here because we're going to have some ground down here. So I'm going to start my tree kind of up here, actually, and we're only going to really see half of the tree. So I'm going to put my tree here. See how the trunk gets larger down here and thinner as it goes up. We're really only going to maybe have 1 or 2 branches off of here, because this is, you know, the tree goes much farther up the page. So I am going to stick that branch right there. And actually that looks pretty good to me. I think I'm going to leave it. Our tree isn't really the focal point of this drawing, so we don't want it to be too detailed. All right, next, while we have this brown out, actually, why don't we go ahead and set our fence in here. Now, our brown, actually, before we do that, I'd take that back. Go ahead and grab your green block crayon, and we're going to put the grass down here because I think it'll be a little easier to set our fence once our grass is in there. I'm going to use the thick side here just because we're covering a big space and it's just easiest to do it that way. All right, and then I'm going to use the corner of my green to add a little grass around the tree here, just because I think it would be cute. All right, and I may add some grass here and there too, just to kind of liven it up down here. Okay, all right, and then I'm going to go back to my brown, and we are going to put the fence in now, okay? So I am going to set my first fence post right about here. All right, and remember, fence post doesn't have to be perfect. If your line's not totally straight, it's not a big deal. This is nature, and there's very little about nature that's gonna look completely symmetrical and perfect. All right, now remember in our story, it said that the second row on the fence post was high enough or low enough to the ground that a baby bird wouldn't get hurt, but then there was one above it as well, because that would shield from rain. So I'm gonna go ahead and start with my top one up here. And I'm going to take it all the way off like it continues off this side of the page, okay? And then I'm going to set my second one down here. And it kind of looks like that's all the room I have for that. So I'm not going to put a third one on here just because it doesn't really make sense. There's something underneath my desk or underneath my book that's making that make some. All right. And this fence post looks really long. I don't believe for a second it would stay up. So I'm going to stick another post here just because I feel like it needs another post. All right. Now I'm going to go back to my, I'm actually going to grab my green stick crayon since I think it'll be easier to do this. And I'm going to draw some grass around these posts down here. All right. I had already drawn some grass in. I probably should have waited because I drew over the top of that. So I'm going to draw a couple more in here just to kind of make it cute. And draw one up here if you want to. All right, cool. While I have my green out, I'm going to put some leaves up here on my tree. And actually, I'm going to grab my block crayon because I think it's easier to do that with this green block crayon. All right. Okay. All right, let's draw our robins, shall we? Actually, let's do our nest next. So remember in our story, Mrs. Robin wanted to put it on the second one. I've said this 2 or 3 times, but I'm going to say it again. She put it on the second one because she wanted to make sure that it was close enough to the ground that the babies wouldn't hurt themselves, but then underneath this so that it could be helped from the rain or like shielded from the rain. So what I'm going to do is grab my brown stick crayon because remember she also said that the nest was going to be the same color as the fence, and that was good for camouflaging because they didn't want anybody to be able to find their nest, okay? So I am going to draw my nest in here. Remember, the nest would be sticks and twigs and stuff like that. So again, not totally perfect. I'm going to leave a little space right here because we're going to put some eggs in there. And you want to draw it dark enough that it's different from the fence post, okay? But remember, it does need to blend in. And then, robin's eggs, are they blue? I think they might be. So I'm going to use my blue stick crayon. If I'm wrong about that, I'm sorry, but I think that they are. So I'm going to use my blue and I'm going to draw some eggs in here. I don't think it said in the story how many eggs there were. So I'm just going to go with 3 because, I don't know, 3 makes sense to me. And now that I've got my eggs in there, I can see that the nest needs a little more in there. So I'm gonna put a few more sticks. All right, so my nest is there. All right, next thing we need to do is draw our robins. I think I'm gonna put one down here beside the nest and then maybe one up here. Maybe the Mr. Robin is up there, making sure that everything's safe and sound for his eggs. And then maybe Miss Robin is down here looking at it. I'm not gonna put one sitting on it because we wanna be able to see the eggs. So, all right, let's start with Miss Robin down here, Mrs. Robin down here. I am gonna draw a line like that, kind of a sort of a curve of a line there. And then I think I'm going to make the robin's belly brown. So I'm going to use the brown to go under here and do that. All right. Okay, and then I'm going to go back with my black stick crayon and I'm going to draw her little beak and color in the rest of her here. And then I'm going to add some feet here as best I can with this stick crayon. I know that's challenging sometimes with the stick crayons to do that. All right, so there's Mrs. Robin. And then I'm going to put Mr. Robin up here, but I think I'm going to make him facing the other way. So I'm going to do the same curve that I did for her there. All right, and then I'm going to get my brown and I'm going to draw his little belly. He looks like he's maybe a bit more well-fed than Mrs. Robin is. She's too busy taking care of those eggs. All right, and then I'm going to add his little beak end right here. And I'm going to color in the rest of him. Of course, you got to add his little feet in here. Do my best with this stick crayon. All right, so we have our 2 robins. We have our nest. It's on the second row of this fence here. All right, I'm gonna add the sun in over here just because it makes the most sense since we have a tree over here. And then we're gonna put the sky in and our drawing will be done. So I'm gonna use my black crayon to do the sun just because I prefer it. I think it's easier. So I'm gonna draw my sun up here, in a circle. And I'm gonna grab my orange block crayon and add a little orange into it too, just because I like that. All right, and then I'm gonna grab my yellow stick crayon and we're gonna draw some of those rays around it. And I think I might do the same thing with my orange as well, just because it's got some orange in it. All right, and then the very last thing we need to do is put our sky in. I'm gonna use our blue. I'm gonna use the thicker part of the blue block crayon for most of it, but then I'll move on to the thinner side when I get to some spots that are smaller here, like maybe around the robins. There we go. I need to clean my crayons. I'm getting some red and stuff in there. All right, this little spot under here. There we go. All right, a little closer to the sun here. Why? There we go. I just needed to push down on it. My desk underneath here is very uneven, so it's kind of creating some weird lines where I don't want them. All right. Yeah, so that's it with our drawing. I think I might add a little brown down here in the grass because grass is not completely green, is it? All right, and then I'm gonna add a little bit to my tree here so it's got some, maybe what looks like bark and stuff. All right, guys, there is our guided drawing for this week. I hope that you enjoyed it and that it was helpful. All right, I'll see you later. Bye.